They won't get invited on radio. They won't be invited on TV. They're not even called on the telephone. They're not interviewed, nothing. They don't prosper at all. Well, this is nothing new. Why are they at ease and thriving who deal very treacherously and deceitfully? Why do they thrive? Now, it says, you have planted them. Now, of course, he's dealing with Israel. He's not really dealing with the pagans here. He's dealing with his own people. You have planted them. They have taken root. They've grown. They have brought forth fruit. You are near in their mouth and far from their heart. They got to a point where they was good about blabbing their lips, but their heart was really far from God, and God was far from them. Verse 3, but you know, O Lord, know and understand me in my devotion to you. You have seen me and tried my heart towards you. O Lord, pull these rebellious ones out like sheep for the slaughter, and devote and prepare them to the day of slaughter. That's a pretty good prayer. See, well, that's just unloving to pray that way. That is the Spirit of God praying that way.
You have lived on the earth in luxury and in self-indulgence. You have fattened your hearts in a day of slaughter.
When you have snakes and flakes in the body of Christ that contaminate and eventually eat away at the moral fiber of a unit, you got to get that contamination out. But the churches don't do that. The churches get out the real people of God and leave the snakes and flakes to prosper. See, this is the way it has grown. That's why I believe that America, as it stands right now, is fatted for the slaughter. It has grown fat off the people of God. It's grown fat off its own goodness, and it's just big fat, like the Bible says. You know, their eyes are pooched up with fatness. They have more than they can eat, and they desire more. I mean, they're just like have an appetite for the things of the world that they can't be satisfied, but yet they're just like, in the physical, they're like bloated fat carcasses, fat UFOs type, unidentified fat objects walking around called human beings. The church people are just like the world's people. In the natural, they're fat and they're lazy and they're slow. You say, General, you're awful critical. Yeah, I'm very critical because it's in the Bible. Read it for yourself. Okay, so he goes on and deals with that. And I'm bringing all this up because God doesn't immediately judge individuals or groups of individuals or nations immediately when they commit sin. You see, because it starts out this way. God warns the nations. He raises up prophets, male and female, to cry out against the sins that's being committed.
The Bible says that everything before God is open and naked and bare.
Yes, God is love, but He is also just, holy and righteous.
We offended God by lying. We offended God by stealing. We offended God by looking at lust.
And I'm saying to you that each one of us is dying through sin.
But Christ, 2,000 years ago, died on a cross.
He was crucified. He took the punishment that you and I deserve.
He paid the way with His own blood.
He came that you may not perish.
We've got to get right with God.
We must repent. Get right with God.
Such as Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah, those major ones and the minor ones, and we even got up today. And they've been through the centuries that God raises up His people that will cry out against the sins that's being committed, unrepentant of, and they just keep crying out. Just like He's raised us up since the middle of 1970s. We've been doing this, putting forth warnings. Okay? You don't have to be a big, well-known prophet to be on TBN TV with Benny Hinn and all those big shots that's rolling in money, the big diamond rings and expensive clothes and the beautiful hairdos. You know how they look. And they sit there and brag on all their exploits of prophecy and healings and how many people they have saved. And it's just endless bragging to them. The SHI is so deep you have to get boots on so you can wade through it. You know, it's that nasty and that bad in these bragathons they have about how great they are in their ministries. And of course they are promoted in this. Now, you got your warnings, you've got your partial and preliminary judgments. That's what you're seeing right now in America and some parts of the world. Partial, that means a slap on the hand rather than a slap in the face. Preliminary, that means just the beginning, but really not the end. If that doesn't do it, then God brings His punishments.
Well, this is pretty
He
crazy.
brings His severe punishments, His action to revolution, and therefore, when He gets that angry and that wrathful in His indignation against the unrepentant people, then no man, no system, no government, no UN, no black president, or green or purple or yellow president is going to stop the judgments of God.
What reasons do we have for this? Is this climate change? What's going on?
We don't really know. The experts don't even know.
Now, He has told us just here lately, in a week or two, I'm delivering this message in March 2011. He's told us lately, after we have been prophesying, even before this group was even started, and we've been prophesying all during this when we started this 1981-82 era, that He is finished with warnings.
Biggest snowfall in recorded history. 100 million people will be impacted by this storm.
He's done with warning people. Now He is going to bring forth His punitive action, His chastisements, His judgments, and nobody is going to stop.
Unusually cold weather continues to pound the eastern half of the United States, and it is very serious. It's pushing temperatures.
America, anytime to receive some very nasty things that's going to befall this country. Now, when that 9/11 that shook almost the devil out of most people, it almost scared the hell out of most people, especially people living in New York, saw those Twin Towers coming down, and all that's connected with all that supposed terrorism from the Arabs. My personal feeling on that is I don't care if the Muslims personally did that, or if the Muslims connected with the CIA and the FBI and the known puppet government that we have work together to do that, or if the U.S. government did it without their help. I don't really care. It happened
A lot
anyway.
of people are surprised to hear that the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency expected 9/11 to happen. We had advanced knowledge of this attack, and I was viciously harassed by the United States government, by the Bush administration, for 5 years when I tried to talk during the 9/11 Commission report. For 5 years they silenced me, and that's why so much of this information has not been told. However, the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency knew about 9/11 from about April and May of 2001. I discovered it when my CIA handler instructed me to threaten my contacts at the Iraqi embassy in New York with war in the event that 9/11 happened and the Iraqis failed to provide actionable intelligence to us that would help us thwart it. And the Iraqis insisted, of course, that they had nothing to give us. At the time, they were working aggressively to get the sanctions lifted off Baghdad, which had killed about 1.7 million human beings, including 1 million children under the age of 5. Literacy had been wiped out, healthcare had been wiped out, and Iraq was looking for peace.
And when that happened, God says that is just a wake-up call. And of course, people that was sensitive to the Spirit begin to say that's a wake-up call for America. And America got pretty well woke up for about a day. Just about the time the dust settled, people were back to their sin habits. No, in all honesty, it lasted about 3 months.
We didn't do that on purpose. What happens is we're on a master computer, and it's not like FM radio where the next jock can wait. It's everything's programmed in the computer.
They just shut it mid-sentence, they shut it off?
No, my only thing is this. I talk to people who where I talked to one guy who was brought in front of the 9/11 Commission. They took him in a private room. He told what he knew. He was dismissed, and today there's no record of him being there because of what he talked about. I talked to another guy that spent 256 days at the cleanup site. He found the black boxes, and yet our government tells us they were destroyed. They were never found. Why? Why does our government behave that way?
You know something?
Why do they make it look like
these are in fact the case? If that is in fact the case, then I have no idea why. The government has been deceiving. I will say the government has been deceiving the American people on many things for many years.
Yeah. So why would they deceive us on this?
But to this extent,
oh no, the government's completely.
To this extent, is a little crazy, and you know what it is? It's almost dangerous in a way where, if we let our guard down thinking it was something else, that perhaps it can happen again by another group of fanatics.
Or is it that we participated and we're not participating anymore, and that's why it hasn't happened again?
Well, like we said, there are a lot of theories and questions.
Yeah.
People that studied this, they said when the churches began to fill up and people was on their knees, people were praying, and people had never seen go to church or going to church, about 3 months span, and then they begin to slowly but surely recede back into their old habits. So now we got to have gay sex marriage. We got to go back to doing the filthy things that brought that judgment on anyway. That was preliminary and a partial judgment upon one city. Now, why did it hit New York City? I can tell you why. And that's what my message is all about, because in 1995, he gave one word I want to read right now. In 1995, I have it before me, before I get on San Francisco and on New York City. Right here, this will be in the next Words of the Spirit. This is a word against Japan. This is not something we made up. It's in print. It's in the newspaper style, Words of the Spirit, number 53. It's already been printed. It's old. It was done in 1995. March 1995. This is March 2011. How old is this prophecy? 16 years old. Now let me read this short little prophecy. Here it is in print for you. The word of the Lord to Japan. I speak to thee, haughty, proud giant that you are. You shall be brought down and reduced to size once again, and you shall be devastated in your pride and in your haughtiness, and you shall be left in shambles. For I say that it is not going to be done by men this time. And I know God was referring to the great World War II, that nation was devastated. Men did that, although God was behind men, used men. He used the H-bomb on that place. But there's no H-bomb being used now. God used, as you know, a huge earthquake and the tsunami, and then of course that made way for the opening up of those new power plants, which are having terrible time with. We don't know how far that'll get, but everything now is being contaminated, their food, everything. And God said, after this, He says, I'm not done with Japan. He said, I'm going to bring more, so we don't know what else He'll do. The whole country could be left desolate. If those things really melt down, that whole island will be gone. You don't live and survive in those kind of nuclear things. You just don't. It takes centuries for that fallout to go away. Anyway, finishing this. It won't be done by man, but it's going to be done by me, the living God. So much for the prophet on TBN. God gave this word 16 years ago that He was going to lay Japan in shambles. Now, as you know, the Bible has many idioms. It has many ways of exclaiming certain things, explaining certain things. The Bible has its own terminologies, put it that way. And it has a way of speaking in the natural sense, and of course we know it has a way of speaking in the spiritual sense. So when God says a country could be laid in shambles, there may not even be one building that has fallen, but the disarray of their government, their economics, the people's minds could be also laid to shambles. And I believe that's what happened over there. Now, not only is their country pretty well laid in shambles, as you've seen probably on TV, how bad it is, But the people are constantly now are living in perpetual fear every day of their life. That's being laid in shambles in the mental realm. Then he says, and I shall bring thee down, and I shall reduce thee.
As you can see in the pictures, you have massive walls of waves just eating up everything in its path.